Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Monday, January 22nd, 2024. My name is Jason Allen. I'm a realtor and real estate planner based in Palm Springs, California, where it is pouring rain out. We do get cold, rainy weather in the desert during the winter, and I am bundled up in a sweater. I have my heater on. Yes, I know some of you are in blizzards and minus degrees. But you know what? When we get into the low 50s, well, we get cold over here. So I'm doing a review of Palm Desert. For those that don't know, Palm Desert is the fourth city going eastward from Palm Springs. It's technically East Valley. Often people will say Down Valley. That's inaccurate, but it's just what people say. And Palm Desert is a city that does not permit short-term rentals. And by short-term rentals, I mean rental stays that are less than 30 days. You can rent your property there for 30 days, or it may be that if you're in an HOA, it's required that you only rent it once within 30 days. I'm going to share my screen as I often do, or should I say always do. Here we are with the numbers. So once again, we're focused on Palm Desert. I start with single family dwellings if you haven't been here before. And we're going to start looking at the unit sales. We are up 26.8% year over year. Year over year is helpful, but I would say that since pandemic world started in roughly February of 2020, we're still kind of correcting from that bizarro situation. So sometimes I like to look at back just a year and then also really what's happening in the last few months. And as you can see in Palm Desert, we have increased sales slowly but surely. And that's reflective over a year. But we kind of hit a slump at this time last year. Median sales price, $641 for a single family home. So it is less expensive than Palm Springs. And median, once again, is the house that sold in the middle. So half of the homes sold above that, half of the homes sold below that. That's different from an average. We use average for other things. Inventory is up about 10% over last year, but you can see that it's not nearly what it was at any high point. And then if we could, and this chart doesn't permit me to, if I could go back into 2017, 18, 19, you would see that our inventory is actually lower than those high water marks. Days on market, 48 days, not a long time, less than 2 months. We will start to see that increase as the market continues to normalize. Now we get into some averages. Sales to list price. On average, sellers are getting almost their full asking price. I always like to point out that this is skewed because we have 30% of the listings selling above the asking price. So clearly there are some that are closing below or significantly below, and that's how we end up with this average in here. And then in this case, 95% of the original sales price. In this case, some sellers have taken at least one price reduction, but on average, even those that have taken one price reduction are getting close to 95% of their original asking price. We have just over 3 months supply of inventory. We consider 6 months to be a balanced market. So we are still in a seller's market in this case. And then our median sales price per square foot, $341 per square foot. Again, the median, what's in the middle, and that's up almost 8% over last year. This is saying to me that we're probably selling more larger homes as well as the really small ones. And I can explain that when I show you another chart. 42% of single family homes sold within 30 days, 67 within 60 days, and 88% within 90 days. So just about every house that comes on the market sells within 90 days. You have 12%, they may get pulled and relisted because they were priced too high. They may go on hold. They may just be sitting there waiting for the right buyer to come along and pay the asking price. I'll go to condos. 33%, excuse me, 33 sales. We're down 26.7% over last year. But you can see we sold more condos in December than we did in November, and more in November than we did in October. So median sales price is down year over year. What this may also suggest is that as single family dwellings become more affordable, people don't feel the need to buy a condo. In Palm Springs, we sort of have the opposite impact. As house prices continue to stay high, although there is some pulling back, condos sales tends to remain strong because people want to be in Palm Springs and they can't afford a house. Go back over here to condos. Median sales price 475. Inventory is up to 165 units. Days on market 51. Again, not a very long time. Sales to list price 97%. And then if they've had one or more price reductions, 95%. 30% of sales are over asking. 3.5 months supply. And the median sales price per square foot is down. I think what's crucial about this is to recognize, certainly when we look at sold within 30 days, 40%, sold within 60 days, 73%, sold within 90 days, 82%. I think it's crucial that if you're looking to buy a house or a condo, you recognize that there is a significant portion of them that are going over the sales price. So not everything is discounted, or it may be that it's already discounted and now multiple buyers are recognizing I need to pay more for this to get the property I want. I'm going to bounce over to Chicago Title's service, and they also offer their own charts. And what I like about their charts is that one, we have this little gauge, seller's market for houses, seller's market for condos. Let's go back to houses. Then we can look at the median sales price, again, the one that's in the middle, and they break it into quartiles. And you can see where everything in the first three quartiles is holding very steady with a slight increase in kind of the second one. And then you go to the high end, and while it's certainly nothing like what it was in July of 21 or in March of 22, you can see that it's doing okay. When we sell more high end, then the price per square foot on average goes down. Bigger house, lower cost per square foot. When we start to see things in the lower end of the cost spectrum, generally speaking, price per square foot is higher, concentrated. So in this section, you get to see what the quartiles represent in whole numbers as opposed to sort of guessing at it over here on a chart. I pause here for a moment. You can always stop your video and look more closely at it. And now I'm going to jump over to condos. And if we go down here, we can see we're at the higher end price point condos are selling more, or I should say there are a larger number of sales at that price point. But the other three quartiles are all holding steady. I mean, this is good news. And I'm pausing here while you can look at the lower section of this chart. In the email I got this morning from my preferred lender, Brad Mullen at Franklin Financial. And why is he my preferred lender? It's not because I get a kickback. That's illegal. It's also unethical. But it's because I know when I send a client to him, he will treat them with respect, regardless of what they plan to borrow. And then also put them in a loan that makes the most sense for them. And if he can't help you, we have to really figure out who the heck can, because he is a master at making things work for folks. I'll also say that he's capable of actually communicating with all the parties that are involved so we know what's happening in real time. And that may sound like a simple thing in your line of work. It's not a simple thing in my line of work. Title companies, escrow officers, lenders, other agents that don't communicate well are problematic. My point is that in his morning newsletter, it looks like December was the bottom nationally of low housing sales. Interest rates have certainly corrected. Now we may see them rise a little bit before they fall again. I can tell you that we're in this little trough, in this little window. Buyers have the greatest opportunity to negotiate with the seller. And and I always have to say, when you're negotiating, you're not just negotiating the price. The retailization of real estate has everyone focused on price, or not everyone, but the vast majority of people focused on price. And what is unique about real estate is every single property is one of a kind. You could have the same model in the same development, but just by virtue of it being in a different location makes it unique. My point is that when we start negotiate, when you find the property you want to buy, and we're going to present an offer, you have to consider all of the terms of an agreement. Is the seller going to stay in the property? When is the close of escrow? Who are the different services? Is the seller going to contribute to closing costs? Is the seller going to make any repairs? Is the HOA financially solvent? If it's not an HOA, do you have a problem neighbor next door? Now, those aren't necessarily terms. Those last few aren't necessarily terms, but they're considerations that will influence your offer potentially. And in a buyer's market, although those charts are saying seller's market, the perception is that we're in a buyer's market. And by virtue of that, it gives you the opportunity to negotiate other things. So, for example, let's just say you're buying into a condo and the HOA has a special assessment that they've passed, and it's to be paid in 3 increments over 3 years, and the seller has only paid one. Perhaps because the perception is that we're in a buyer's market, you as the buyer can say, I want you, Mr. Seller, to pay off the other 2 segments of the special assessment. That would be a term of the offer. In a full-on seller's market like we were during COVID, buyer, take it all. Just do it. It's your fault or your problem, not mine. I'm not going to do any of it. And so I think as we start to see interest rates stabilize more, people feel better about the economy. Consumer price index shows that consumers are generally feeling better about the economy. As more buyers return to the market, the sellers will have more leverage or more ability to say no to things the buyer wants. Now, the flip side of that, if you're a seller, because inventory remains low and the best properties are the most desirable, you do have some option in the marketplace, but really you have 3 things at your disposal. One is your location. You can't do much about that. You chose that when you bought it. The condition, right? You can improve upon it if it's not in great shape as it is, and the price. So from a seller's perspective, price does become a paramount focus. And if you're at the wrong price, the market's going to tell you. If 88% or 82% of homes are selling in 90 days and you haven't sold in that window, odds are good your price is too high, or your condition is poor, or your location is bad and your price isn't reflecting the location and the condition. That's all I have for today. As always, if I can be of service to you, please reach out. I am happy to have a conversation with all my prospective clients. I offer a 1-hour consultation at no charge. And then we each get to decide if whether working together makes sense. That's it. Have a fantastic week, and I will see you again soon. Bye.